يغشى الوغى من غير خوف وحنين والأحزاب تشهد في روحه عزم عظيم في الهمة الكبرى تجسد يغشى الوغى من غير خوف وحنين والأحزاب تشهد القائد الأعلى المسدد نبينا الهادي محمد في روحه عزم عظيم في الهمة
Today, inshallah ta'ala, as I have previously mentioned, is no more than a Q&A, which is a revision of our previous lessons, which we have been taken for the past 6 months. So I hope that you are all prepared, inshallah ta'ala, to answer them with full concrete convictions. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala assist us all in answering the questions, which are very, very simple and easy for every Muslim, in a manner, a way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts them from us. And if we do any mistakes or error, may Allah forgive us all for that. So I will initiate without any further delay these questions. Question number 1. Now, anyone that has the answer, raise your hand and please confront us, inshaAllah ta'ala, with your answer. Otherwise, I shall choose the answerer if no one raises their hand. Question number 1. Drinking alcohol, taking drugs, rape, killing an innocent soul, disobedience to parents, riba, zina. We all know that these are all horrifying, dreadful, shocking sins. The question is, are they the most noxious sins that exist on the face of this existence? You know the answer, please raise your hand. Since he's alright, I'll give it to him first, then I'll come to you, inshallah. Because right, inshallah, is usually given precedence. Tafaddal ya Sheikh. No. Very good. Why? Good answer. The answer is definitely no. Although they are all dreadful, mischievous, wicked, noxious, horrifying sins, we can't say they are the most noxious. The answer is correct. Why? Very good. The answer is due to shirk being on top of all these accumulated together. So shirk is definitely worse than all these noxious sins accumulated. Now, Satan alayhi ma yastahiqqu min Allah wants you to believe that yes, they are the most noxious sins. This is his desire. Why do you think he would like you to be diverted from the act of shirk to believing that these are the most noxious sins in the light of what we have studied? Raise if you know. Ustaz Nazri, tfaddal. Ahsan Allah ilayk. Because when he makes you believe that committing adultery or fornication or riba and its evil likes is the worst of the worst, he will try to blind you. He will try to brainwash you. He will try to conceal the most evil, wicked sin that exists, which is shirk, by making you less careful to that, by putting all your effort in trying to keep away from those particular major sins. But if you commit shirk and you avoid all of those, you indeed have still lost salvation. But if you commit all of those, not that I am encouraging, be careful. I am not encouraging you to do this. But if you commit all of those and you avoid the most noxious sin, which is shirk, you will still be idnil Khaliq Azza wa Jal end up where? In eternal, everlasting gardens of bliss. Now, question number 2. By committing shirk, what does a person actually do? Why is shirk so severe? Why is shirk a sin that will place you in everlasting eternal damnation? Why is shirk so evil? When a person commits shirk, what is he actually doing? What do you reckon, Imam? You have a very nice answer for it? Not really? What about Mikael? Raise your hand if you know. When a person commits shirk, why is it so evil? What does this person actually do? Tfaddal ya Nazri. Yes, very good. Because it denies the very purpose of existence. It is definitely the greatest act of injustice against your Creator. Why? Because it goes against the covenant. The covenant, the contract before your earthly existence between you and Allah. It betrays a fundamental aspect of human nature. And that is what? Nazri? What is that fundamental aspect of human nature? Fitra ahsan Allah ilayk. The natural disposition, the natural inclination, the natural belief. When you commit shirk, you have went against this aspect, this fundamental aspect. You have betrayed it. And this is why it is the worst sin that man can ever commit. Is it forgivable? Is shirk forgivable? Sister Joanna is saying no, it isn't. Why? Where is your proof? The answer is correct, but why is shirk unforgivable? Or where is the proof that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not tolerate shirk? Which is okay, but there's something more explicit, more conspicuous. Is that correct, Nazri? Where it's you are right there, but there is something explicit in regards to shirk being unforgivable. We mentioned that in our lessons, a very clear, evident, conspicuous verse in Surah An-Nisa, verse 48. What is it, Uzwan? And can you say it to us or for us in Arabic? إن الله لا يغفر أن يشرك به ويغفر ما دون ذلك لمن يشاء ومن يشرك بالله فقد افترى إثما عظيما. So you can see the importance of avoiding this wicked, evil sin, and that a person who commits it will be where, Zaki? In Jahannam, where he will be dwelling forever. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Question number 3. The Prophet of Islam, Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, the excellence of a learned person over a devout worshipper is like, complete the narration. The excellence of a learned person to a devout worshipper is like the excellence of I'm pretty sure we took this, did we not? I could even recall the date of this. I think it was the 7th or the 21st of January. Did we not, Brother Nick? Yeah. No volunteers. The excellence... تفضل يا أمين جزاك الله خيرا. Okay, acceptable. Very good, jazakallah khairan. So the excellence of a learned man to a devout worshipper is like or similarly to the excellence of a full moon. You know, the full moon, bright, strong looking, gives a light to all existence, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, is like this moon over all the rest of the planets. It looks like it's like an ant when the full moon is evident in the sky. The planets look like they're extremely minute. You see how nice and big that moon is? See how much light is in that moon? What is the definition of this? How can we explain this? Like, how can a learned man be like that full moon, while contrary to this, which opposes these two, a devout worshipper who loves Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and worships Him devoutly with full devotion and motivation, is like the small star or planet compared to the full moon? Who understands the significance of this? Who can tell me why is this so? Any clarification for this? You all know the answer, but sometimes we're either embarrassed to answer it, or we're scared to answer something wrong and you get hammered for it. So you will not answer, or you just don't want to answer. Nazri, what do you think? So you're talking about the knowledgeable person now, the scholar, okay? The learned person, okay? Very good. When you see the learned man, the scholar, when he does what he does, he learns Islam, he actually practices and implements Islam through evidence, through light. He's strong, he's got full conviction and certainty in what he's doing. He's sure of what he's doing. He worships Allah Ta'ala ala basirah, with surety, with certainty, knowing exactly what he is doing is Islam. But a devout worshipper, although he loves Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, although he may pray tahajjud every night, fast every second day, not even an utter of obscenity is mentioned from him, but he may practice or implement Islam according to the incorrect creed, innovations, because he has no knowledge, which is the criteria that distinguishes between right and wrong. So a man or a woman with no knowledge is not a good follower of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Because he told us, قُلْ هَذِهِ سَبِيلِي أَدْعُو إِلَى اللَّهِ عَلَى بَصِيرَةٍ أَنَا وَمَنِ اتَّبَعَنِي. Say, this is my path. Say, Ya Rasulullah, to them, to your nation, this is my path. What path is this? أدعو إلى الله على بصيرة. I convey Islam, I practice Islam with surety, making sure that what I am doing is Islam. And what's the benefit of worshipping Allah all your life, which is not in accordance to the correct methodology or creed of Islam? And how many people do we have today that, yes, are extremely devout? They love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dearly, more than anything else. But when they worship Allah, it's not built on a correct foundation. That I understand Tawheed, that I understand jurisprudence, that I understand Islam, but yes, they are devout. So you can see why it's so important to be a learned person in Islam, in order that your actions constitute to the correct way or implementation of Islam. And as the hadith says, that whoever does an act that is not in accordance to our act will have it what? Accepted? Rejected. So this is the importance of understanding Islam, attending lessons, attending seminars of Islam, sermons, circles. Understand what Allah wants from you. And the only way you can do this is to attend as many lectures as possible every day of your life. You can't go to a particular lesson because there's no lesson or it's hard to get to. You have the Quran in your house. You have a video or DVD player or CD player. You have a library, or you should have a library, not with Cosmopolitan in it. No, not with Shakespeare in it. No, not with Steven Spielberg in it. No, but with Qala Allahu, Qala Rasulullah. So when you are unable to attend a particular lecture, you have no excuse. You must at least every single day study Islam. A minimum of an hour or two, minimum. But we've got time for everything else. Then we try to fit in one lesson a week. This is not the correct way of a Muslim. We live for Allah. قل إن صلاتي ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين. Say my prayers, my sacrifice, and my living and my dying is for whom? If this is true, it's for Allah. Are you really living for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Are you really studying Islam so you know how to really worship Allah ta'ala and love Him? Or do you give Him just a bit of time at the end of the week? I may give Him, you say, enough time for Allah ta'ala. 1 hour is enough for you, Allah, to learn who you are and what you want from us and the halals and the harams. And this is absurd, and this is not the Muslim's way. Every day, every second is for Allah. وَمَحْيَايَ وَمَمَاتِ, and your dying is for Allah. So make sure you understand how you live for Allah's sake or pleasure, and how you will die, and that must be for Allah's sake and His pleasure. This is why the full moon is that to over all the planets as a learned person is to a devout worshipper. Question number 4. The great pious predecessor from amongst the first 3 generations, Hassan al-Basri, said, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on him, Iman is neither formal conformity nor vain expectation. It is what settles in the heart and is confirmed complete. And is confirmed complete. One word. Iman, faith, taqwa, Islam, as he says, is not formal conformity nor vain expectation. It is what settles in the heart, inwardly, implicitly, internally. Islam must be here inside, but likewise And it is what settles, is confirmed with action. Correct answer. With implementation, application, evidence. So what he is trying to say here is that it is not enough to say, I am a Muslim. That's internal belief. Your internal belief must coincide with what? External behavior, belief. And external belief is what? Practical implementation of La ilaha illallah. And there are people out there, as we have spoken many times before, that believe that Islam is only to say La ilaha illallah, period. And after that you can do what you want, how you want, when you want. Whether you practically accept this kalima or not is not the issue. They say as long as you say La ilaha illallah, you are as strong in Iman as Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. As whom? Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Well, according to this belief, that means Satan is as strong as Abu Bakr as-Siddiq's faith. Why? Who can tell me? Do you understand what I'm saying? According to this belief, which is the belief of al-Murji'ah, the liberals, those who have distanced the condition of implementing Islam, the condition of actions, to be a prerequisite for Islam, an acceptance of Islam. I repeat, they are the people who said that the actions of Islam is not a condition for the acceptance of La ilaha illallah. In other words, if you say La ilaha illallah, khalas, finish, you are a believer regardless if you apply anything of Islam. So they said, and this is their belief in their books, that the faith of Satan is as powerful as Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Because did Satan say La ilaha illallah? Absolutely. Absolutely. He definitely said this. Did Abu Bakr say this? Absolutely. So Abu Bakr implemented, but Satan did not implement. So they say that these two parties are equal. Is this acceptable, Azwan? Why not? Why is this extremely nullified? Which it definitely renders your Islam as being null. N-U-L-L. Why, Brother Azwan? Why is it not acceptable to declare La ilaha illallah on your tongue without any application of its conditions? What do you think, sir? So you're saying that he separates the levels of taqwa amongst people. Okay, no problem. But still, those lowest of people that declare La ilaha illallah with no action, no nothing, so they're still considered to you as, alhamdulillah, very strong, powerful, strong Muslims and Iman like mountains. So do you say that action is a condition or not? In your belief, what you have learnt in Islam, is action a condition of your utterance? So as soon as you declare La ilaha illallah, is this suffice? Can you say, alhamdulillah, I've done my job, I've packed my bags, I'm going home, I'm a Muslim, as strong as Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and Umar al-Faruq and Dhu Nurayn, Uthman, or Abu Turab, Ali, radiyallahu ta'ala anhum? So what is the answer? Is action a condition of La ilaha illallah? Absolutely. How many times in the Quran do we see this? الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا عَمِلُوا 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 عَمِلُوا. Every verse of the Quran. Those who believed and what? And performed. and performed and performed. I don't know if there's any verse in the Quran that has only alladhina amanu and stop. To my understanding and my revision and recollection, every single verse entails after aminu wa amilu as-salihat. And what's as-salihat? The pillars of Islam. The pillars of Islam. And we know in itself, Surah Al-Asr, wal-Asr, inna al-insana lafi khusr. Listen carefully to this. By time, Allah is swearing here by time, indeed, all mankind, all humanity are doomed, are in a state of loss, are destroyed. So, a typical, wise, intellectual human being would say, Ya Allah, are we all doomed? It's like him raising his hands or her hands up in the skies and saying, Ya Allah, are we really all doomed? Because Allah is telling us all that we are. Innal insana lafi khusr, Allah is saying. Indeed, verily, definitely, surely, it's all ta'keed, affirmation, confirmation. It's an oath by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Muhammad, that Allah is saying you are all doomed, all of you. But the believer, or the one that wants to be exempted from this destruction, will say, Ya Rab, is, or are there anyone that is not doomed? Does the answer come? So what's the answer? Inna alladhina, illa alladhina amanu. That was the first condition. Except, exempted are those who believe. Believe in what? Muhammad? In Harry Potter? Believe in what? Buddhism? Believe in Islam. And what's Islam built on? What's Islam built on? What's the fundamental principle of Islam? The essence of Islam, the core, the pivot, the thing that everything stems from? Ahsanta. That there is no God worthy of worship except Allah. So it's built on this belief of Tawheed. Except those who believe in Tawheed. Just like this? No. There's another condition. وَعَامِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. So the devout worshipper, this intellectual is saying, hold on. Is that all, Ya Allah Ta'ala? If it's finished, if I say La ilaha illallah, I believe in this creed, in Tawheed, is it suffice for me? No. وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. And that you do perform righteous deeds. And as all scholars have said, the righteous deeds are the pillars of Islam. The acts of worship. Application, implementation. That you really prove that you are a Muslim. We are not liberals. Liberalism does not exist in Islam. Anyone that says that we can be liberals is actually saying that we can change our way into something else. That the Quran needs to be played with, changed. And we are not murji's. We are not murji'. So it is definitely a condition of faith. And as Al-Hasan al-Basri said, you can repeat the statement of Hassan, may Allah have mercy on his soul. Iman is neither formal conformity nor vain expectation. It is what? It is what settles in the heart and is confirmed with action. I hope you all understand this and memorize this so you can teach it to others. And there are so many evidence in the glorious uncreated word of the Almighty that will prove this. Naam ya Ustaz Imtiyazu.
We've learned also we've heard some hadith or
Some methods.
or some hadith.
Some sorry?
Hadith.
Oh, hadith.
If I'm not mistaken.
When you say hadith in Arabic language, I heard some ahadith. Hadith is English. Because in the English language you only put the S on the end. And it's not an English word to put the S here. It's an Arabic word. So the correct plural word for hadith is ahadith. So hadith, you're trying to make it into English. Now, where's the hadith that says that? Just like that. Which one? Which is? No. You have misunderstood the whole narrations. See, the problem that we have today is we see one hadith and we try to think, subhanallah, this is the hadith and we build Islam on it. This is why you cannot be your own scholar. For this reason. Because you can read many hadith in the book, but some hadith corroborate each other. They work together. They've got to be used together. And this is the importance of learning the science of hadith. Understanding how the structure of hadith is used. The science of it. This is why it's extremely imperative you understand Islam from the people who have learned Islam in an authentic way. So these are hadith that you are mentioning about, and there are many more in that sort of reference. Does not mean that if khalas you say that is finished. No, you gotta use these hadith as with another hadith in order for it to be understood. These hadith, yes, are correct and they're authentic. Like whoever says La ilaha illallah before he dies, with certainty or with knowledge or with sincerity, will enter Jannah. But not just like that. You need to use the other narrations to explain each other. No scholar has said that, ever. So you cannot be your own scholar and try to understand as you please. As one person said in Saudi Arabia when we were studying, we were in a circle of knowledge. And he said, yes, Shaykh, to one of the scholars that was teaching us. He said, I do witr at the start of the night, the middle of the night, and the last third of the night. How many times do you do witr? 3 times. The Shaykh says, subhanallah, that's very interesting. Where did you get that from? He goes, yes, Shaykh, it's in Bukhari. And the hadith is in Bukhari. That he used to pray in the beginning of the night, after Isha, in the middle of the night, and at the last third of the night. But when the Shaykh explained it to him, he said, Ya Akhil Aziz, the hadith means he would pray sometimes in the beginning of the night, sometimes in the middle of the night, and sometimes in the last third of the night. But if you look at the hadith, just literally, you may understand this. But other hadith has explained this narration. So what we must understand is that never ever try to be your own scholar. So what was the reason why Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, if that was correct, Imtiyaz? You know the Ayyam al-Irtidad, the combat of Ridda, the wars of Ridda, after Muhammad sallallahu died? Just because they denied zakat, they kept on praying, but denied zakat, he confronted them with an aggressive war. If they were Muslims, true believers, would he have fought them? No. Because they rejected zakat, they stopped paying zakat. And there are many ahadith, but it's not the time and place for right now. Question number 5. In Surah Yusuf, verse 106, Allah the Almighty says, وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُمْ بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ. Most of them believe not in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala except that they are polytheists, commit shirk. What does this mean? And is it referring to the Ummah of Muhammad sallam? And give some examples. In order to help you more with this question, or your answer, is an authentic narration by Abu Isa at-Tirmidhi that says that the hour will not be established until groups of my ummah or from my ummah start following the disbelievers and have begun worshipping idols. So what does most of them believe not in Allah except that they commit shirk mean? And is this in reality today? Do Muslims commit shirk? Who's got some examples? Sorry?
Those Islamic chainmail, you said that people,
Chainmail? What's shirk in the chainmail?
believing if we send people within 2 hours, you'll be blessed by this email, something.
That's confusion there, Muhammad. There's something much more clearer than that. Talismans, amulets, chains, seashells, anything that is placed or hung or placed under, that is with the intention of what? Protection or warding off or averting evil. Anyone that believes that an animate or inanimate creature or thin object has the power to bring you benefit or to ward off evil. Martin? You look like you're a bit daisy today. You should have drank some Nescafe before you came. So this is definitely an act of shirk. Are there any more examples? Sorry? Riya. What does Riya mean? What does Riya mean? And that, inshallah, we are going to be taking very, very soon in our Tawheed lessons, because we almost reached that chapter, which is minor shirk, ar-riya, which is to do something only to be heard, or to be known, or to be, praised by other people. You don't do it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or for His pleasure. You do it in order for humans' pleasure. You want to gain something from them. So you do it for their sake, and this is definitely shirk al-asghar, riya. And as the hadith says, I am so sufficient that I am in no need to have a partner. So whosoever worships me, does an act of worship, and desires the sake of someone else with me, I will have it renounced, or it will be renounced by me to him whom he associated with me. Did you get that? You didn't get that? Who got that? Did you get that, Nick? That's Riya in essence. That people do acts of worship to be praised, to be known, so he can boast or she can boast. MashaAllah, tabarakallah, look at this person. They like to be pumped as being somebody or someone. This is shirk. Shirk al-asghar, ar-riya. And this is definitely rejected. Is it unforgivable? We will inshallah study that in the future. And there are many, many other examples of how this surah is indefinite and absolutely as it's mentioned in today's society. Question number 6, in Surah Al-An'am, verse 151 to 153, we mentioned the 10 commandments that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed in this, and indeed it was the hadith of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala an, that whoever wants to see the seal that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam placed his seal on, his stamp on, let him recite these verses. Who can give me the commandments that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in this surah? And we mentioned there were 10 commandments, did we not? Who can start off the 10? I'll initiate the verse for you. قُلْ تَعَالَوْا أَتْلُوا مَا حَرَّمَ رَبُّكُمْ عَلَيْكُمْ Say, come and I will inform you that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prohibited you from. Number one, is that how we're going to be? We only had this 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. أَلَّا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا. Join not anything with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number two, I can see some books being read. It's up there as well. They can't see it. They have to have, very good eyesight to see that. Number two, وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. And be good and dutiful to your parents. I want this memorized in Arabic. Not read from your books in English. Because Allah did not say it in English. He said it in what? In Arabic. We are only interpreting, inshallah, its meaning. Number three, وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَوْلَادَكُمْ مِنْ إِمْلَاقٍ نَحْنُ نَرْزُقُكُمْ وَإِيَّهُمْ. Kill not your children due to poverty. We provide for you and for them. Number four, I can see you nodding, but I can't see answers. وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الْفَوَاحِشَ مَا ظَهَرَ مِنْهَا وَمَا بَطَنَ. Come not near al-fawahish, sexual or unlawful sexual intercourse, shameful deeds. Number five, say it in English but without reading. Very good. وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا النَّفْسَ الَّتِي حَرَّمَ اللَّهُ إِلَّا بِالْحَقِّ. Kill not the soul that Allah has forbidden to be killed except in just cause, according to Islamic law. Number six, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا مَالَ الْيَتِيمِ إِلَّا بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. Come not near the orphan's property. Number seven, English, no problem, acceptable, even though it's very, very weak, but it's acceptable. It's a weak answer, but an acceptable answer. Imtiaz is hiding behind our beloved brother. I like that kind of concealment. It's called inconspicuousness. It's called please don't see me. Then I don't have to answer. Number seven, Nazari? وَأَوْفُوا الْكَيْلَ وَالْمِيزَانَ بِالْقِسْطِ. Give full weight, full measure with justice. In the balance and in the way, obviously. Number eight, are we not implementing all these in our lives? Alhamdulillah, we are. So if we are, we must understand them. When we go to our friend's house and relatives or whatever, what do? Imagine you memorize these verses. You memorize these commandments and you sit down and say, Subhanallah, let us recite some beautiful verses, some commandments. Instead of talking about what you did and what you ate this morning, what you want to eat tonight, or how you want to do this or how you want to do that in the dunya. This is beautiful advice. This is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All we ever do is always hear, إِنَّ خَيْرَ الْكَلَامِ كَلَامُ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ. That the best of speech is the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is the speech of Allah ta'ala. So when we're in our circles, our gatherings, our sittings, what do we talk about? What do we talk about? Habba wa dabba? What do we talk about? It's a very, very, very important issue. But what we should really talk about is what? خير الكلام. The word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that way you will never lose. You will never lose. Number eight. Mikael. Very good. وَإِذَا كُلْتُمْ فَاعْدِلُوا وَلَوْ كَانَ ذَا قُرْبًا. If you give your word, speak the truth, although or even if it's a near relative is concerned. Number 9. What was that? Number 9? Which was? I didn't hear you, Mikhail. Number 9, we're up to number 9. We're not up to number 9? What are we up to? Which one have we missed out? And we're up to number 9 now. And that's what I'm asking for, number 9. You're confusing me. So number 9 is what? Who knows number 9? We all know if you read it, all of us. Sharif. Yes. وَبِعَهْدِ اللَّهِ أَوْفُوا. And fulfill the covenant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the last one. Yes. وَأَنَّ هَذَا صِرَاطِي مُسْتَقِيمًا فَاتَّبِعُوهُ وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا السُّبُلَ فَتَفَرَّقَ بِكُمْ عَنْ سَبِيلِي. And this is my straight path, so follow it. And follow not the other paths, for they will separate you from Allah's path, His path. SubhanAllah, inshallah, we shall be taking in our next lesson, which is the last 2. And in particular, the path of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. We want to have a look at it, inshallah, of extra sort of insight in order to understand exactly what this path is. This must be memorized. No excuses. Really, brothers, really, sisters. These are commandments that must be known by every single one of you. That when you are asked about these commandments, you should know them without question, without any doubt, without any uncertainty, without any ignorance. Yes, I know it, and it is this. And this is what you should be encouraging each other, reminding each other, advising each other with. So make sure, inshallah, you memorize it in Arabic and understand it in English and teach it to all those around you. Ibn al-Qayyim Rahimahullah ta'ala said, deeds without sincerity are like a traveler carrying in his water jug dirt. Who understands this statement? Ibn al-Qayyim said that deeds without sincerity is like a traveler who carries in his water jug, he's in the desert, in his water jug dirt. What does he mean by this? Can you imagine a traveler in the desert, extremely hot, when he becomes thirsty? Can he drink dirt? Absolutely not. What does he need to drink? Water, in order to benefit, to revitalize, to re-energize, to be able to keep on going. So what does Ibn al-Qayyim Rahimahullah ta'ala mean by this in the light of what we studied? This was in our first lesson that Nick did not take. Huh? You're in a different chapter, Zaki. It's a different area altogether. That's knowledge of action without knowledge. That would have been a good example for the first thing that we spoke about. We're talking about now deeds without sincerity. Actions are being applied, but there's no sincerity. It is empty, there's a vacuum there. He's doing his deeds, but his heart is empty. No sincerity. Instead of putting sincerity, ikhlas for Allah, he's got something else in it. Dirt. That's the example, the parable, the similarity that he mentioned. In other words, Ibn al-Qayyim is saying to all of us all that a person traveling in the desert, carrying in his water jug. Why is it called a water jug? It carries what? It carries life, bi'idhnillah. Life. But instead of that life, he's got what? Dirt, filth, scum, stench, putrid. Abomination. Why is it abomination? Because in that water jug is not ikhlas. It's dirt, ikhlas for the devil. You understand his example? No. Meaning that like the traveler in the desert who will not benefit in any way, shape or manner from that dirt because there's no water there. He's not going to drink dirt. It's going to destroy him. So he's going to end up dead. It's going to be useless for him. Likewise, the action, an act of worship, if that jug, which is your heart, has dirt in it, has no ikhlas, it's empty from ikhlas, but instead dirt, it's not going to benefit you. It's going to be useless, worthless, rejected. And it will not strengthen you. It will not give you life. It will not revitalize you, re-energize you. Instead, it will destroy you. No ikhlas. Do you understand this example? We must make sure that our deeds are not contaminated with evil, with the lows of this deceiving materialistic world. And we all know the beautiful hadith, which is one of the greatest teachings in Islam, most beautifully captured in a world hadith, known hadith, that was collected by Muhammad ibn Ismail al-Bukhari on the authority of Al-Faruq Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu, who said that Muhammad said, what did he say? The hadith in Bukhari from Umar ibn Khattab to Rasulullah, the most recognized, known narration, the very first hadith in about every book on the face of this earth that has to do with Islam is what? That's it. إنما الأعمال بالنيات. Yes, ya Ustaz Arabi. Tabarakallah. Straight through it, no doubt. إنما الأعمال بالنيات. All actions or all deeds are acted due to your intention. All actions are but by intention. And you will only receive that which you intended. So this hadith definitely reminds us and warns us against contaminating this morsel, your niyyah, with the lows of this dunya. You know, fame, glory, appreciation, reputation, money, wanting to exceed over others. All these are hidden desires. You may know that no one knows except one. You know, we see in front of us that when we do something, our hearts are considering something else. People think that you're doing it fi sabilillah or ikhlas fi lillahi ta'ala. But in reality, no one can see this except her. Except Allah ta'ala. So who are you trying to hide it from? Wallahi, if they knew, it's better than him knowing. But it's impossible for that. Because he knows more than you know. So how can someone contaminate that beautiful morsel of ikhlas, your niyyah, for worldly gain? Wallahi, it's a terrible possibility, and it is possible that all your acts of worship may be rendered null simply because of this. Simply because your intention is not for Allah Ta'ala. That you pray or you fast or you give zakat or charity for someone other than Allah, or you mix your intention for Allah and someone else, it becomes null. This is why he said that deeds without sincerity, any act of worship with no ikhlas, is like a traveler who carries in his water jug dirt, useless, worthless. It's going to destroy him. Like that, if you put in that water jug no ikhlas in this morsel, it will destroy you. It will destroy you. And Abdullah ibn Mas'ud would advise his students. You know Abdullah ibn Mas'ud? Who's he? Who is Abdullah ibn Mas'ud? Who knows? Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. No hands up, just one word out. The answer is one word. He is what? Yes. One of the most knowledgeable and the greatest, the most prestige of all companions. This great figure in Islam. When he used to teach Islam, he would advise his students, if your intention, before he started, if your niyyah was one of these three, do not sit in my lesson. And do not study Islam. What did he say, Zaki? If your intention is one of these three, leave this sitting. Do not study Islam. Do not seek the knowledge of Islam. The first one, if your intention to seek Islam is to argue with the fuqaha, the jurists, the scholars, the teachers of Islam, the reason why you're here is to argue with them, just to argue, don't sit here. Or to shame the ignorant. You know, many people, because they have a little bit of Islam, wherever they are, whenever they are, they sit in circles, in gatherings, and they know that these people are ignorant of Islam. They want to prove themselves. So they try to shame those that do not know. They embarrass them. This is a false intention. It's haram. And it's rejected, not accepted. That action. And the third, if you desire that people's faces turn into your direction, do not study Islam. Do you get the three? Who can repeat the first one? Do not argue with the fuqaha. Or if your intention is to argue with the fuqaha, do not argue is another issue. If your intention is to argue with the fuqaha, number two, sorry? To shame the ignorant, number three. If you desire that people's faces get directed towards you. This is a dangerous action. Any one of these three. Why would he have said that, Nazri?
All three of these gates of charity.
The what?
The gates of charity.
Yes, it negates and destroys Tawheed, which is ikhlas. And by doing that, that action that you are doing is shirk, rejected. Because you are not doing it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Any act of worship that has no ikhlas must be an act of what? Shirk. Because anything other than ikhlas is shirk. Do we understand this? Imtiyaz, you understand that? Are we all saved from it? Are we all saved from this major predicament? Our niyyah? Do we all think that we're saved and our niyyah is always khalas, alhamdulillah, 100% for Allah Ta'ala? Huh? Do we get scared of this? If you do not get scared, there is something wrong with you. The companions would seek forgiveness, some up to 1,000 times a day, for this problem. 1,000 times, as we mentioned about Abu Hurairah, per day, seeking forgiveness, fearing what? Hypocrisy in action. Sufyan al-Thawri, one of the great predecessors, said, there was nothing harder on me to treat than my intention. There was nothing harder for me to treat, to take care of, than my intention, my ikhlas. So make sure whenever we perform an act of worship, before we perform it, make sure it's for Allah. For He alone can help you. He alone can protect you. He alone can give you Jannah. Your father, your mother, your boss, your son or daughter, no one can give you Jannah except Him. So why would you want to seek reward from anyone other than Allah Ta'ala? It doesn't make sense. It's silly, it's futile. Who is going to enter in your grave? Your father or mother or your friend? No. Who's going to enter? Huh? Yourself. What enters with you? Your deeds, your ikhlas. If your ikhlas is correct, your deeds will be for you and not against you. But if you have desire for dunya, for the gratification of your mind and senses, or the pursuit of worldly, higher standards of living, or if you pursue knowledge or out of arrogance and boastfulness, then you have failed. You have failed. You are here for one reason. I am here for one reason. I care about my future, and that is an akhirah, not this future. I care about my salvation, as every single one here should care about. His future, her future, and your future is not when you get 30 to 40 or 50 or 60 or 70 or 80, no. Your future, your genuine future is in al-barzakh, then in al-ba'ath, the life of the grave and thus beyond. And this is what you should be worried about. And this is what you should be concentrating towards. Protecting your home, protecting your eternal home, not your trivial, transitional, temporary life. This is not your home. So the correct, the intellectual, the wise man will say, if this is my eternal home, and this is only a temporary place of relaxation, if you can call that, then obviously you need to take care of that before anything else. And again, I repeat, don't give Allah Ta'ala 1 hour a week, or 2 hours a week, or 3 hours a week. He deserves more than that. He deserves that you get up at night and do tahajjud with ikhlas. And Ya Allah, you say to yourself in your sujood, please grant me sincerity. Please grant me acceptance. This is what we want, all of us. This is why we're here, to understand how to worship Allah upon sincerity, with genuine deeds that He loves, not my father or mother or wife or husband. You know, our brother, for example, grew his beard for one reason, only because his wife said you look like a man with a beard on. Garbage, gibberish, rejected. The growing of the beard for that reason is not acceptable. You can grow it, but you have still not done what Allah wants you, which is to grow the beard for Him. So the man that grows the beard for the sake of his wife, it's like he's still shaven. Do you understand that? The wife that wears the hijab because of her husband, she might as well not wear it, because it's not accepted on her. She's still uncovered in the sight of Allah Ta'ala, because the niyyah is not for Him. The one that prays not for Allah but for the dunya, he might as well not pray, because in the sight of Allah he's not praying, because it's not for Him. This is the importance of ikhlas. This is the importance of preparing ourselves with ikhlas. Wallahi, one action, a minute action that takes 2 minutes with sincerity, ikhlas, is better than a 1,000 years of continuous worship with no ikhlas. Do you understand that? Understand the importance of ikhlas. We worship Allah, not the dunya. Not anyone but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So again, this is what Ibn al-Qayyim said. That deed without sincerity is like the traveller who carries in his water jug dirt. Again, memorize this and give it to those around you. Just sit down. Tell you, look, I would like to mention a beautiful statement. Let us understand it and ponder over it and why he said this. There's so much to talk about. Wallahi. But our problem is shaitan, dunya, desire. I want. You want nothing but an inducement of taqwa in your brain. That's what you really need. Because that want is not going to give you salvation. But that needle, that injection of taqwa, of iman, of ikhlas, will definitely help you, inshaAllah ta'ala. Do our parents, question number 8, have absolute obedience? Raise your hand if you know. Do our parents have absolute obedience? Raise your hand if you know. Is that the question understood? Okay, what is it, Nazri? Nazvi is saying absolutely, on one condition, that it does not contradict the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is it acceptable, Imtiyaz? Do you agree with Nazvi? Where's your proof? You're saying you agree, and I totally agree with you as well. Because if I agree with you, as you agree with Nazvi. But where's the proof for this? Does anyone want to help our beloved brother Imtiyaz? Nazvi, you're the answerer. I shouldn't really pass it on to Imtiyaz. He's just an scapegoat. But what about you? No guessing. You can never guess when it comes to Qala Allah and Qala Rasulullah. No opinions I want, nor do I want you to guess. If you know it, alhamdulillah. You don't know it, Allahu A'lam. You will know it. As you should already know it.
This verse, sort of single and title, together with.
No, that relates back to saying that do not be undutiful to your parents. In other words, be good. Doesn't say that regarding the actual, the level of obedience here. So how are we going to balance this out? Where is your answer from? Where did you get it from? You said that which is correct, and I totally agree with you. That yes, as long as it does not contradict the word of Allah, you must obey them. Where's the proof for this? Because now what you have actually mentioned is like a legislation. What is it, Muhammad? A legislation. And anyone that legislates, anyone that says that this is an act of worship, you must have proof. Anyone that says this is haram, you must have proof. You are not allowed to say, no, it's haram. Okay, where's your proof for this? No, I'm pretty sure it's haram. Not good enough. Can you say that there's a new prayer called Dhihar? It's 6 rak'at. Where's the proof? You must have proof. So to say, my beloved Nazvi and Imtiyazu, to say that it is not absolute obedience, it is only obedience that does not contradict the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is legislation. We don't want opinion, we want proof. Who knows the proof? Is when? You're not sure of the hadith? So what are you saying then? Hadith of who? The matan? What's the matan? The meaning is the ma'na al-hadith. What's the matan? It's a correct word in Arabic, but you didn't render it correctly. It's what? Is when it's saying matan is the meaning. Is that correct? I'm not embarrassing you. We're learning. Is that correct? Definitely not. What does matan mean? Yes, that's better. The text of the hadith is comprised of 2 branches. You've got the matan and you've got the isnad. The matan is the text, the actual wording of the hadith. The isnad is the transmission that the matan is built on. So you can say like a house. The isnad or the matan of the house is the foundation, the slab. And then on top is the actual statement, whatever is on top of it. Mafhum? Okay. So what is the narration? This doesn't at all tell us that there is no obedience to the parents when it contradicts the word of Allah. That's another narration altogether. No. The hadith does not say that. Not even a verse, Zaki. It's an authentic narration that we hear it many times. Many a times we hear this. Na'am. The sister's got some answers there, I can see. No ayah, not in the Quran. I want something extremely explicit, that no confusion or doubt can be in it. That's the answer. That's the hadith. لا طاعة لمخلوق في معصية الله. There is no obedience to the creation when it means disobedience to Allah. This is a hadith. In the Kutub al-Sittah, there is no obedience to creation when it means disobedience to Allah. And this is comprehensive. Not only towards your mother, but towards every other living creature. Anyone that teaches you or tells you something that contradicts the word of Allah Ta'ala, you are not allowed to obey him or her. Is that understood? An example of this, if your wife says to you, shave your beard, are you allowed to accept it? It's haram. If your husband says, take the hijab off, are you allowed to accept it? Why? Because it contradicts the word of Allah Ta'ala. So we do not own each other, we are owned by Allah. And we are governed and controlled by Allah. So we have taken each other as a trust. And we can only worship Allah through this trust, which is meaning that every action of ours must be in accordance to Allah's law. So no husband, no wife, no mother, no father, no one can tell you or advise you to disobedience when it means contradicting the word of Allah Ta'ala. To obedience when it means contradicting the word of Allah Ta'ala. What does the term Wahhabi mean and where did it come from? This was in our second lesson or first lesson, I'm not sure. What does the term Wahhabi mean? Are you all Wahhabis? Absolutely not. What does the term Wahhabi mean? Doesn't mean that. That's what they say, but doesn't mean that, Zaki. But it still doesn't mean that. Even then you cannot do that. You cannot attribute yourself to Allah's name. So what does Wahhabi in reality mean? No. We're looking at an attribution here. Wahhabi has got the year of attribution. Nasab it's called. So what does Wahhabi mean? Yes, Muhammad, that's the correct answer. That means nothing. It's a meaningless appellation, title. That's all it is. In reality, there is no definition for it. Really, there is not. Because Wahhabi is attributed to a particular tribe, if there was a tribe called Wahhab. But there is no tribe called Wahhab. There's a family, and that was the father of Muhammad ibn al-Wahhab, Abdul Wahhab. But it's not attributed to him, it's so-called attributed to who? To his son. So basically it's a meaningless appellation, title. Used by who? Who's it used by? The people of novelty, of innovation, to slander or insult or offend those that strictly uphold unconditionally the word of Allah Ta'ala. Those who are strict in accordance to the Quran and Sunnah are always called Wahhabis. But it's baseless and there is no such thing. And no one is really a Wahhabi. There is no such thing as Wahhabi. Even though it's been created. Who actually introduced this word? Who introduced it? And why did they introduce it? Nazvi? The Brits, the British. Love and desire amongst each other.
Make it look to the
Very good. It is no more than a British conspiracy against the Muslims and Islam. They wanted to cause friction, discord, disunity, animosity between whom? Between the Muslims. Between the Muslims. They wanted to insinuate that this sect is a dangerous movement that must be stopped and its da'wah eradicated, because they knew and they feared a revival, a reawakening. When Ibn Abdul Wahhab rahmatullah alayhi arose, they feared this movement. Why did they fear it, Islam? What was the reason? They feared what? Why? Why did they fear this group? There's no such thing as Wahhabi, but this group that strictly upheld the Quran and Sunnah. Why did they fear it? Sorry? They what? Because they upheld the pure Islam, the correct Islam, uncompromising in their belief, unwavering, unwatering, undiluting the Quran and Sunnah. So because of this fear, this great awe that was instilled in their hearts, the British evil people, they created this term Wahhabi to insinuate, to create that this is extremely dangerous. These people are dangerous people that must be eradicated. Them and their da'wah. So this is why today you see people, ooh, Wahhabi. When you say, Qala Allah, Qala Rasulullah, or I don't follow madhab, Wahhabi. What is this? So you might as well say that the first 3 righteous generations are all Wahhabis. According to this belief, they're all Wahhabis. Even Rasulullah is a Wahhabi. Because he strictly upheld the Quran and explained the Quran. So is he a Wahhabi too? Is Abu Bakr a Wahhabi? According to this ideology and definition, yes. But the majority of times, 99% of times, when you ask this innovator who slanders or insults people with this term, what does it mean, brother? You know what he says? Oh, I don't know, Allahu Akbar. Wahhabi, you're a terrorist, extremist, you're a fanatic, you're a fundamentalist. Is there anything wrong by upholding the Quran and Sunnah? What do you want us to follow? Allah says to follow the Quran and Sunnah. If there's anything else, please forward it. Give us, teach us. If our teachings are wrong, please correct us. Not according to your whim and desire or your opinion, according to the Qala Allah and Qala Rasulullah. And we accept anything and everything that is from the Quran and Sunnah. So if there is anything wrong in our da'wah, our belief, our actions, please inform us. But to slander us, to insult us, to offend us, not that you are doing that. You're harming no one but yourself by slandering people like this. This is absurd and evil. Absurd and evil. So we all know where this term came from and what it means. And we clarified this almost in about a 40-minute answer when we first initiated these courses. So you can go back to that video, inshallah ta'ala. Have you got that, Brother Nick? You haven't got that. That's the first one that you haven't got. We're only up to number 9 and we haven't even started. In Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ بِالطَّاغُوتِ وَيُؤْمِنْ بِاللَّهِ فَقَدْ اسْتَمْسَكَ بِالْعُرْوَةِ الْوُثْقَى. Whosoever rejects Taghut and believes in Allah, then he has grasped the most trustworthy handhold. What does Taghut mean according to Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab? according to Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. Not just a definition. His definition could be, it definitely is his time, but his definition is very accurate. What does Taghut, or how did he define Taghut? No, that's Ibn Jarir al-Tabari. Anyone who arrogates to himself a position, a place, a status that befits only Allah. That's Ibn Jarir al-Tabari. I'm talking about Ibn Abdul Wahhab. How did he define Taghut? Did he not categorize it into 5 divisions? 5 divisions, we've all forgotten these divisions. No one knows them, not even one, half of one. Before that, Zaki, I'll get to your question inshallah after the answer. There were 5 sections that Ibn Abdul Wahhab talked about when he said this or these are the heads of Taghut. Iblis is the first one, definitely. He is the Taghut. Number 2, anyone who is worshipped and is pleased with that worship. Because Isa was worshipped, or is worshipped. Muhammad is worshipped. Is he not? Are they pleased with this worship? No. So anyone who is worshipped and is pleased with this worship. And who was worshipped and pleased with this worship? Fir'aun. Number 3. Anyone who? That's number 4, but acceptable. Anyone who claims to possess the knowledge of the unseen. That is number 4. Number 3, you jump one. I'll give you number 3 and you get to number 5. Number 3 is anyone who calls others to worship him. Anyone who calls others to worship him. And number 5, anyone who rules in other than Allah's law, Sharia. These 5 are considered Tawheed. Anyone who does any of these is considered a Taghut. And as Ibn Jarir put it, beautiful Tabari, he nicely put it, anyone who arrogates to himself a position that is befitting only to Allah. That includes all these 5 and anything else. Na'am, Zaki. Well, that's your, if you want to understand it like that, you can understand it like that, but you got to get it explained. Because you can understand it in many ways. But Allahu A'lam, you're not far off it.
Question is, like Abdul asked you, example, the book of At-Tawheed, in this form or quiet time, or times after, they have knowledge and worship from honorable knowledge with you. To have books from them. So, for example, Kitaab Tawheed, we have Kitaab Tawheed or
Well, Ibn Abdul Wahhab is only a few hundred years old. We have many books from our righteous forefathers. You've got Imam Ahmad, Kitaab al-Sunnah. You've got the Shafi'i. You've got the Dhahabi. You've got the San'a. So many books.
I guess the question would be, why would and similar to now more likely refer to
They did not, no, they did not refer only to him. That is a book that's been placed or made in a very, very comprehensive, professional manner where it's easy to understand. Every single chapter of his, you don't find ever his opinion. Every chapter is what? Qala Allah, Qala Rasulullah. It's so simplistic. He made it so easy to understand Tawheed. You will not find in his book, Qala Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab ever. And there was a scholar that used to slander, this was in the subcontinent, I think in Pakistan or India, one of the staunch Tablighis or Sufis. He would slander Ibn Abdul Wahhab at the end of each lesson. It was his common trait. He was known for this. Before his students, he would slander him, curse him. One day, one of the students had a bit of wisdom, and he did not know why he slandered him, because he had Book of Kitaab at-Tawheed, and he found nothing wrong with it. So one day, this wise student presented the Kitaab at-Tawheed with no cover on it. With no what? Cover. What's on the cover? The name and, you know, the author and so forth. So he took that cover off, and there was no ability to know who wrote the book. It was anonymous, you can say. So he gave it to the teacher, who would slander and curse Ibn Abdul Wahhab at the end of each lesson. So he said, "Yeah, Ustaz, can you please have a look at this book for me and see if it's any good?" So the Shaykh took it home, this big Sufi Shaykh, and read it from cover to cover. After a week approximately, he came back with the book and gave it to the boy, the student. The student said, "Ya Shaykh, how did you find it?" He said, "Allahu Akbar, one of the greatest books in Tawheed." And the student goes, "Ya Shaykh, this is Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab's book." So the man made tawbah. He made tawbah to Shaykh and said, "This is what every single person should be learning." And instead of insulting him and cursing him and slandering him at the end of each lecture, he praised him and asked for Allah's mercy on him. The majority of people don't even know this man, have not even looked at the book, but all they've heard is this conspiracy that is so flying around so unanimously around every single nation where Muslims exist, as this person is the most evil people on the face of this earth. But if there's anything wrong with his book, tell us so we can learn. Don't slander this great man. Don't slander those who read this book. And all you hear them doing is cursing and slandering. If you really want to advise and help your brother, you don't slander your brother. You teach your brother what you believe is correct. Is this not the way you teach? You advise? Is this not what we were taught in the hadith? Ad-Din al-Nasiha, that Islam is all advice. So you can see the people who are in fault here, are in wrong. If I have a problem with a particular shaykh, I won't go slander a shaykh. I will take him by the hand and help him if I believe he's wrong, and teach him what I think is correct. And I may be wrong, but I advise him to what I think is more correct. And this is Islam. Not to go out and slander each other and curse each other and insult each other and be entrapped, a victim to this evil conspiracy out there. What does the word ibadah mean? Who can define the word ibadah? Who can define the word ibadah? وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. This is taken from this word, ibadah. Allah did not create us only for this reason. So if you don't know this word, then what? It's the whole essence of existence. What are we doing on this earth? We must understand what the word ibadah means in order to fulfill this worship, this servitude. We know this verse inside out, but do we know the word that we must apply in every second of our lives in order to fulfill this verse? Did we explain it better to you guys? I am pretty sure very, very thoroughly. So who can remind us? Huh? Who's going to raise their hand before I pick anyone? تفضل يا أستاذنا.
Any words or actions that this is
Acceptable. It's short, but acceptable. But there's something more comprehensive. You know, ibadah has a very comprehensive meaning, a very broad meaning in Islam. As our beloved brother initiated, it is every word or deed, not only word or deed that Allah loves and is pleased with, both inwardly and outwardly, implicitly or explicitly, internally or externally. And ibadah is not the 5 rituals or the 5 prayers that we pray every day and that's it, or the month of Ramadan once a year, or the month, or when you go to Hajj once in a lifetime. This is not ibadah only. Nor is it ibadah that you sit continuously in absolute meditation or continuous worship. Dhikr, dhikr, dhikr. Ibadah is not that. Ibadah is every word you utter and every deed you do that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves and is pleased with. This is ibadah. Absolute obedience in both utterances and deeds. It's extremely comprehensive, enveloping or encompassing the complete life of a believer. Correct? What did Mu'adh ibn Jabal say about ibadah? Who can remember? Who knows Mu'adh ibn Jabal? Was it Mu'adh ibn Jabal? Huh? Who remembers his beautiful statement about sleep? About sleep. No one? Yes, Sister Joanna. Very, very good. I seek reward from my sleep as I seek reward from my prayer. In other words, even when he sleeps, he seeks ajr. How can you seek ajr from his sleep? How? How can that be? How can you sleep while you still want to be rewarded from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Is it possible? Absolutely. How? Sorry? It's what? Yes, to intend that you are sleeping in order to nourish yourself, to strengthen yourself for tahajjud or for al-fajr or for worship. So you need to sleep in order to perfect and better your worship. And this is a believer. A believer is never content until all his deeds are counted in the balance of his reward, his deeds. Everything and anything he does, always she or he, his intention is what? That this action is to please Allah Ta'ala, to strengthen myself towards worshipping Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. And this is the essence of worship. So everything that you do can be rewarded as long as you intend reward for that action. Even eating, drinking, standing, sitting, resting, sleeping, even intimacy with your spouse. You get a lot of reward for that if your intention is correct. This is Islam. The doors are very widely open to grab as many good deeds before you die. Allah wants you to take these deeds. Allah wants you to be in the highest of paradise. This is why He's allowed you and given you the ability to continuously, perpetually grab as many deeds as possible. So why would you want to close that door? The door is open. Widen the door. Enlarge the door. Don't restrict it just to prayer, just to fasting. No, everything that you do, try to perfect it and try to intend that this action is for Allah, and you will get that which you intended for. Absolutely. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. All actions are backed by intention. Everything you do can be an act of worship. Everything. Even wearing your watch can be an act of worship. How can that be? To make sure that you are aware of prayer time. The most easiest, minute things, subhanAllah, can get you reward. Wearing your glasses can get you reward. Why? Or how? So you can read better and look better to that which is lawful. But if you wear the glasses to see how beautiful her body is, you're wearing what? Haram. The glasses then will be haram and not halal. This is Islam. All acts are but by intention. Cabbage? You want to call it an end, or we need at least probably one whole week continuously to finish these questions? You want the allowance to ask a few questions? And then we end there, inshallah, so we can pray Salat al-Asr. Because of full honesty, we've only done one page, and you can see how many pages are here. One page. That's all we did. And there's about, you can say, close to 150 questions. And each question can be divided into many other questions, correct? Especially with the scholars, tabarakallah, who can explain so beautifully and comprehensively. We can continue asking the question, but it can lead to 20 other questions. Are there any questions that you would like to entertain us before Asr prayer? If not, we can pray inshallah ta'ala. But if there are any questions, we'll give you 30 seconds before we end it inshallah ta'ala. And the time starts now. Everyone's fully qualified? MashaAllah, tabarakallah. You have 10 seconds remaining. You've broke the barrier, or you've broken the ice. Now. Is? Arash? Arash? What's Arash? The Arsh. Is it, sorry? Everything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. Inshallah, we're going to get to that in our lessons of Tawheed. In our lessons of Tawheed. And that is actually part of the Tawheed course bi'idhnillah ta'ala. So the answer will be in our lessons, inshallah. And that's going to be almost one whole lesson about the Arsh itself. How it is, what it is, where is it, the footstool of the Arsh, the size of it, and so forth. Anything else? نعم يا أختي. Sister Zulaikha, I didn't get that. Your voice is a bit too low. Can you please repeat that?
Could you elaborate, please, the reward more on the ibadah that is done if you're married compared to if you're not?
Very good. But basically, the hadith does say that whoever gets married fulfills what? Half of his deen, his religion. And it continues to say, so fulfill the other part with what? The other half is fulfilled with what? With taqwa. With taqwa. So obviously when a man and a woman are married, there is a lot of reward in it. There is immense reward in that. Why? Who can tell me why? In contrary to a bachelor, not saying he does not get reward, but when a person's married, you can see the immense reward that is incorporated there. Why? One example. No one knows. Having you studied the Islamic marriage, partnership and so forth? You haven't studied this? How a spouse should be to the husband and this and should be to the wife and so forth? You've studied all this? So there's only one example I'm after of why there's so much reward for a married couple. Yes, a lot of responsibility now has been placed on your life, or in your life, in both areas, the husband and the wife. The wife taking care of her husband, even as much or as little as ironing his clothes. She gets reward for that. Or making him a cup of coffee or tea tarik. She gets reward for that. As little as the husband by buying a cup of tea for his wife. He gets reward for that. This is minute issues. Imagine the bigger issues. There's so much reward if it's done correctly between a husband and wife. But when you're a bachelor, you're restricted to yourself. It's restriction. And not only that, when you get married and you have children, the reward even becomes greater. The reward is greater. Because for every single child, you will be rewarded for taking care of that child. There are so many examples of how marriage is extremely important. And there are hadith that explain the importance of young men, young ladies, not 25, 26, 27, or 30, and say, now I'm ready for marriage. Marriage initiates when a person reaches maturity. Maturity. And in our time, for example, we are in desperate need to marry our children, young. 16, 17, 18. Marry them off, because you may allow destruction to befall them. Just yesterday I got a call from a sister, a Malaysian sister, and her father, she wants to get married. She's 28 years old. And I said to her, why aren't you married then? She goes, my father does not allow me until I finish my PhD. A'udhu billahi min ash-shaytan ar-rajim. What gives this father this right? He's not allowed, it's haram. The right of marriage is not up to the mother or father, it's up to the child. When he or she needs marriage, the parents has to assist, not prevent. They are not allowed to prevent. The parents do not own the children. They have taken them as a trust and a responsibility. So what's this degree finishing? Or when they finish their BA or their Masters or PhD or their schooling? Why can they not get married, even though they're doing all this? It's haram to try to prevent your responsibility, your flock, whether a boy or a girl, from marriage. When you see your child, it could be 16, both male or female, 17. If you see that they have that inclination to that area, then you should be extremely prompt in marrying him or her off. Assisting them, not preventing them. Because if they commit haram because of you, you are the cause of it. They'll get haram sin for it as well. But you are the cause. And you will carry the burden as well. So how dare a mother or father prevent their child because he's not ready or she's not ready? Who said they're not ready? Who's the Razak? You? No, Allah is. He is a Razak. So it's a very, very sad, wallahi I repeat, sad custom, whether in Malaysia or in the subcontinental or in Africa, that they have this custom. I know in Lebanon, they're wallahi 14, 15, 16, they immediately marry them off. Immediately. And they do not delay marriage. And this is why you rarely, I'm not saying boasting about Lebanon, a'udhu billah, I don't do things like this. But wallahi, you rarely hear of fornication in Lebanon. Because they know the dangers involved. And they fear this. Even though many of them are just ignorant, lay Joe Blow Muslims, they still have that instinct of protecting their children from this evil, ugly and horrendous sin. And the only way you can do this is to assist and not prevent. Don't prevent your daughter when she says she wants to get married. She's saying something to you here. She's calling out, or him. Don't prevent her. It's haram. Wallahi, it's haram. No matter what age she may be, as long as she attains maturity. You allow them to go on the internet or watch TV or go out with their friends and allow them to be confronted to this evil, but when they want to get married, no, you're still too young. You've opened the door to evil for them, but you don't assist them to prevent them from this evil. Is this not haram? Wallahi, it is. And this is why we are having so many premarital sex in our day, because of this restriction, the mother and the father. Another restriction is, now if she's not Malaysian, he's not Malaysian, I cannot marry him off to her. Subhanallah. This is arrogance, nationalism. If he's a good Muslim or she's a good Muslim, why prevent them from marrying each other? What more do you want than a righteous husband, a righteous wife that comes seeking your daughter? His race, his age, her race, her age. Khadija was how old compared to Rasulullah? Rasulullah, how old compared to Aisha? It's not agey, it's not race. And I get this all the time, these questions, where a Khan, especially the Pakistani people, they're staunch in this. If they're not from the family of Khan, you will not ever see my daughter. If you're from Imran, the same race, Pakistanis, but not from Khan, no, you cannot. Because you have to be from Khan to marry my daughter. This is ludicrous. Haram. Again. Ease the situation. The hadith says, Yassiru wa la ta'assiru. Make things easy and do not make things hard. Bashiru wa la tanaffiru. Give the glad tidings of ease and do not make people scared of the deen of Islam by making them turn away. Islam is beautiful. Don't taint it with your custom, your tradition, your belief. Your belief is not counted here. What is counted is Islam and no other. And be very vigilant of your children. We're in the 21st century. The age of evil. The age of conspicuous sexual promiscuity. To the extent where you see it, wallahi, in the streets, as the minor sign of the hour is exposed before our very eye. And it was told to us, wallahi. So be very careful. Be very careful. You have children underneath you, or you have trust or responsibility, never delay their marriage. As soon as you see your son or your daughter desiring this, you should be extremely prompt or hasty in taking care of your child. Assist him financially or her financially if they are in need to do so. Don't prevent them and allow them to fall in the abyss of the devil's trap. And it is so easy, wallahi, so easy. You know, in Saudi Arabia, I was there for seven years. I would meet couples that would, come and visit us who are 16, 17 and their wives 15, 14. I'm not saying advise go and marry them off at that age, no. If they're in need, yes. But the couples there were always young when they get married. Always young. But this ideology of no until she finishes her degree or he finishes his degree. This is gibberish, nonsense, un-Islamic, evil, wallahi. No base in Islam for this. We are Muslims, let us wake up. Not allow to prioritize our way, our country, our tradition, our custom before La ilaha illallah, because you will destroy your family. I hope I didn't get hard on anyone or insult anyone here. Just some advice, because it's not only to Malaysians, believe me, the Pakistan or the Afghanistanians or the Indians or the Sri Lankans or the Bangladeshis are much, much, much greater in this evil than you are. And I've seen it. But you have a problem here with age. A big problem. A big problem. Because they like their daughters, no problem to become something, intellectual and academic, no problem. But don't prevent them from marrying when they want to get married or until they finish their scholarship. This is where the problem is. Sorry, Nazir? Another issue, which you can talk all night about marriage. You know, the price tag, the dowry. 50,000 ringgit or 30,000 ringgit or a nice, you know, late beanie, BMW or Merc or what have you. And you can get my daughter then. You can get my daughter. You can buy my daughter if you got that. You know, he uses his daughter as a commodity or merchandise. She can be bought and sold. يا أخي العزيز يا أخوة الأعزاء, when you want to marry your daughter off, is there anything better than the advice of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? That the lesser the dowry is, the more barakah in the marriage. The lesser the dowry, the more barakah in the marriage. So what do you want? To sell your daughter so there can be problems in the future? The lesser the dowry, the more barakah. Because that means you have not sold your daughter, but you have preferred the righteous man, whether he's got money or no money, over the one who's a doctor, professor, engineer, who owns the Hyatt Hotel or the Hilton Hotel, who owns a car yard full of Mercs, Lamborghinis and so forth. Now I want for my husband, my wife, I want for my daughter, what do I want for her? Wallahi, I don't care if the man that comes and approaches my daughter has 3 wives, wallahi. What I look for, the criteria in my perspective, is the criteria of Islam. If he's a righteous man, he knows his deen, he preaches his deen, he understands his deen, and he lives in accordance to his deen, my daughter can be the 4th wife to him. Wallahi, alladhi khalaqa as-samawati wal ard, this is my belief. As long as she agrees, it's not my choice. I can advise, I can never force. If she agrees, I agree to this person. This is the criteria of Islam. No, polygyny and not polygyny and honeygyny and monogyny and this and that, and they go crazy and it's in the 15th or the 1st century. Nonsense. Who put it in the 1st century or the 2nd century? Who? Allah did not, you did. We did today. Oh, I tell you, for the days of Rasulullah sallam. Nonsense and garbage. It's a sunnah that is dead because there are no men. No men. A lot of males, but no men. They're too scared of marrying another wife because their wife will become like a monkey, swinging around the house and throwing the cutlery on him. To the extent where men have been thrown out with shoes because he just said it wouldn't be bad if we have another wife in our lives. Alhamdulillah, they're still alive, these people. So look, marriage is in accordance to the Quran and Sunnah, not in accordance to your tradition or your custom. Not in accordance to what you think, it's what Allah thinks, what He said, what He imposed. This is Islam. I think we better get off and pray Asr, otherwise we're going to be very, very late. Inshallah, our next lecture will be the last 2 commandments. بإذن الله تعالى. أقول ما تسمعون والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
يغشى الوغى من غير خوف وحنين والأحزاب تشهد في روحه عزم عظيم في الهمة الكبرى تجسد يغشى الوغى